Welcome again to DarkSimzzz. Today we're building a vamp hideout and wedding venue. So the top is going to be an old church where you can have your weddings, and a cemetery that you can put your deceased sins in, and that would be nice for vampires as well if they have a little accident, you know. So I started with a basic church floor plan, and try to make this work. I changed it a couple of times because the dimensions weren't right. It was too big, too small, but in the end I got there. I didn't have a fixed floor plan for this build, which made it a bit harder to do, not easier. And yeah, I went back and forth a lot. I've cut that out of this video, so it's a bit shorter. It actually took me about 12 hours to do everything because there was so much landscaping involved, and there was the whole church, and I want to get all the details right to have the right atmosphere. So it took a while to get everything right, and I'm just going through the debug a lot of times too, and I've edited that out. See, like now the church is kind of too small because she can't walk down the aisle here, and you don't want to have that missing when you have a wedding. So I'm making that a little bit bigger. And yeah, the tower, I couldn't decide if I want to have a functional tower or I wanted to have just for show. I actually started out with having it as a ruin with all the bits and pieces that you get with the Get Together pack. But yeah, I want to have a functional tower in there as well, and it was just kind of a nightmare trying to do this live. I was live streaming this on Twitch. So yeah, that was maybe a bit too ambitious a project to do live for the first time building on Twitch. So the last week I did a modern house, which was simpler. I mean, I couldn't do all the details in the given time, but it was a bit more relaxed since I've done similar builds before, and this was the first time building a church. As you can see, and changing my mind a lot on things, but the main shape is there. And doing the roofing, I don't like roofing. I've not been doing this as long as some other people are that are doing YouTube speed builds. So forgive me if I mess it up a little bit. I've put some things on the right already so that I know that I don't have to look for all the items during the build. I ended up deleting most of those. But still, I tried, you know, this time to be more prepared, but still these are from the vampire pack as well. I love these arches. They're so gorgeous, and I'm still kind of deciding what I want to do with this church. I had a few inspirational images that I used. I'm from a country where there's lots of churches, so that was quite easy. But having a church that also fits on this lot in the vampire world was more of a challenge. And I also wanted it to have, like, as you see, a basement area that houses a nightclub for vampires, so that it has a dual purpose. And yeah, that has its own challenges, I guess. And figure out which windows I wanted to have for this church was maybe the thing that I had to think about the most. I mean, these windows are fine, but then I wanted to have bigger windows, and also there's the rounded walls. That's not a new feature, but kind of, and not all windows fit on the round walls, so you're very limited as what you can put there. And then I just go back and forth trying to put different windows on there. I mean, those are alright. I did actually find other ones later on, but we'll get to that later on. So these are fine for now. I think I like them. I don't know if these are base game. I try to use base game and vampires packs at the most, but yeah, if it's such a detailed build, it's very hard to stick to a limited amount of packs. So I'm sorry for people who only have base game, because this has a lot. And I ransacked the whole debug collection of each pack as well. So there might be some items that you don't recognize. You can still see some of the broken off pillars there. Those are from Get Together. And the rune idea that I had, I kind of left them in there, thinking maybe I'll use them later. And some parts of it I think I kept. And you can see the wedding arches there that I have. And I'll have to choose one of those, because I just put down the ones that I might want to use. And some fountains. Those windows, oh yeah, this part of the roofing was also a bit tricky. The rounded walls, just to get it exactly right. As you can imagine, I wish that you could do the towers higher, because then it would have more of a gothic feel. And now it's alright. And a bit of like a dance floor is there, and I don't know, it's just random things. Like the windows I want to use, I can't use. And other windows just don't really mesh. Maybe that one. I'll just go for this one for now. Just so that I have something. And of course the swatches don't really match as well. I mean, I love Sims 4, obviously, else I wouldn't be playing this so much, this game. But yeah, the color wheel would be a nice thing to have for things like this, because then you can't find things to match up sometimes, and it's just so painful. I mean, why don't they try and match them up? I mean, I don't know. But we just kind of do with what we have, I guess. Yeah, I want to make that a separate area, but I like the benches and like the I forgot the name, the organ thing. You know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, vampires apparently love to play that. We'll just roll with it. And it's nice for the church, so it all works out. Changing the color of these a million times to see if those will match up better. These little portholes. I built this from a picture of an actual church that I had in Holland, which is where I'm from. Hey. There's two of those where I live in the village. One Catholic and one Protestant. I'm not religious myself, so I hope that this is not respectless in terms of having a vampire nightclub below it. My mom kind of felt that it was. Don't know how you feel about it, but I thought it would be kind of, you know, looking at the Bram Stoker's Dracula that came out a long time ago when I was a teenager. I mean, there was this whole church thing vibe, and I wanted to keep that in here, but I don't know how other people feel about that. So yeah, I didn't want it to. Yeah, there isn't actually any religion in the game as is, and the church parts, the churches were only added in the wedding stories as like an option, but they're not in Tartosa, the world that comes with that pack. So there are churches if you want them, but yeah, no, not everybody wants them. This one, I mean, you can always remove the basement and just use it as a regular church and take away the graveyard and make it into something, I don't know, pretty to get married. But yeah, this is not how I want to use it, but if anyone wants to use it as a Reno version to make it nice for the purpose that it would be built as. But in this one I'm hanging up vampire pictures everywhere. So yeah, I'm using the vampire pack to close off all the windows because vampires are not much fan of the sunlight. And doing the arches everywhere here and covering all the windows so it's all safe for vampires. I know in Sims 4 indoors they're safe anyways, but well, I'm just going for the whole, you know, vampire lore thing that any sunlight from outside can be harmful, and I guess that's why we have so many drapes that are like completely covering. Just figuring out what to do with the roof here. I want to have the little, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that tower is also from Wedding Stories. I was looking for the bell tower, but I couldn't find it. And it actually is just a bell. And I put it in the tower later on. But, you know, I couldn't find it at this moment. So I'm going to go back and forth sometimes. So it's not as well thought out as maybe other people do, because my brain just goes all over the place. I might get inspired by something in debug and think, okay, I can use this or there, and then I'm building something and then I see something and I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm gonna go do that. So sometimes you just get kind of bored or stuck at a part that you're working on temporarily, and then if you come back to it later, you're like, oh yeah, I know what to do with that. So it actually did 3 days building this. And yeah, it was kind of difficult, but I had so much fun, and I'm so happy that I did it because that made that world so much nicer. And I wanted to have a place for my vampires to hang out and other occults to come and, I don't know, get into fights, have romance. It's sort of a central hub for all my occult sims. So I wanted to have everything. I built this with vampires in mind, but you can use it for anyone really, as it will have a bar and a stage and a kitchen and a bathroom and some crypts for the vampires to sleep in. And yeah, so I'm building the stage here. In this version, I'm having just normal old-timey stuff like piano and everything on there. But you can, of course, put the DJ booth there and make it more modern. But for this aesthetic, I want to just use regular instruments. Maybe someday we'll get bands and we can have a goth band play there. How great would that be? Awful, not? Awfully great. That's what it was gonna be. I miss bands so much from The Sims 3. I don't know why they haven't given us bands, but it's probably to stretch the lifetime of The Sims 4. I mean, if you give everything to people in the first 4 or 5 years, as I did with earlier Sims games, then, I mean, why would people still buy it if they already have all the options that they want? So I guess with The Sims 4, they're trying to stretch that period as long as possible. Also with giving us horses and not putting it in one pets pack with cats and dogs. I mean, I know that the horse is its own theme and everything, and I don't agree with putting them in cottage living, because there's a lot in that pack. That is one that is actually good value for money, like how I see it. There's foxes, there's rabbits, There's wild birds, there's chickens, there's llamas, there's cows, there's grocery delivering, there's ponds. I mean, there's a lot in that pack. That is enough. That is something worth those 40 bucks. Some other things like the cats and dogs, not so much. I mean, the world is fine, but it's always raining, and the vet is fine, but it's kind of modeled after how the retail works in Get Work. So it's not very novel. And yeah, they could have added more to that, like the small animals. They made like my first pet a separate pack, game pack, stuff pack, I think. I have it, but that could have easily been in the cats and dogs. I mean, there's no reason to have that separate. The hamsters going into space. I mean, it's a great little pack, but yeah, they could have easily done that in the cats and dogs, because there's not much gameplay in the cats and dogs. I mean, you have the little island where you have the lighthouse where you can have woohoo in, and that's neat. And the animal cemetery, pet cemetery, woo. And yeah, but there's not, I mean, people are complaining about the horseback not having a lot of gameplay, but we don't know yet. But the cats and dogs is just even worse. I mean, what does that add exactly, other than the vet and cats and dogs? And cats and dogs, I mean, they're so tiresome as well. I mean, they just need constant attention, or they run away. They can't have jobs like they did in The Sims 2, I think. So, you know, you have to... They're like babies, but worse. They don't grow up. Well, so you can teach them things, but other than you could do in The Sims 2, other than just having them do some stuff for fun. I mean, in The Sims 2, you could have them have jobs, let's say, like firefighting, or like rescue dogs, or in showbiz, like cats in showbiz, you know, famous cat. You know, that's, or like in a movie. I mean, you could have those things, but yeah, with this horse pack and the cats and dogs, I don't know. But, well, we'll just have to live with it. I'm still getting the horseback, of course. I complain about it, but I'm not really into the whole Western theme, but I think it would be nice to mix that with Occult, because it's so different to have like werewolf wrench and everything. So I'm building a werewolf wrench as well this Saturday, yay! Woo. And that will be fun to make it not how the EA pack looks like the Western pack, but make it sort of run down and creepy. They're like, oh, that's a bad place to go. And have mean horses and mean goats. I hope that the goats can be like evil goats and evil sheep, black sheep. Like we have the evil chickens and the killer bunnies in the cottage living, because that's so funny. And yeah, they attack your Sims and they can kill them, which is something I want to actually have them do still. I was trying to do that with Greg in my gameplay, and to have a killer rabbit murder Greg, that would be something. Werewolf versus killer rabbit. Arr. But yeah, I totally forgot about it until now. I'm doing a stream later, so I'll get into that. I'm a bit behind my videos because I've recorded a lot of gameplay. Pretty awesome gameplay, if I may say so myself. Lots of fun stuff happened, but those videos will come out later. I'm making a toilet here for the guests, I guess, for that the vampires might have, because, you know, vampires don't use the bathroom. But, you know, other people, victims, might, so you want to lure them with nice sanitation type stuff. Make it look all inviting, and then they'll come. Build it and they will come. I don't know if that goes for bathrooms. Putting a little bit of spider webs there and other things to make it even more inviting. Maybe not, but to show that it's not being used a lot by the people who frequent this establishment. Nice little bed, because sometimes you want to get a little frisky when you've been dancing. No, I always want to have a woohoo place in a public lot, because I don't know, that's me. And I'm not putting in the dumpsters here, where they can dive for thrills and conceive. So I'm just building a little bedroom here for them, all cozy and nice, so they have somewhere to hang out. They have a private conversation or something else. Sizing up and down these things there. And another Betty Buy places for vampires. Those pipes didn't really go with the aesthetic that I was planning. Just doing the basics here. And yeah, that's by the way is gonna cause a problem. I don't know if you can see it here, but the little platform, and I extended that into that other room, but now the floor is gone. Yeah, I was working and I was like, it's quite strange that you can see the underside of this pool. Yeah, that's because there's no more floor. Oops. And building in the little lights. I wish you could have fountains in a basement, but you can't. So I had to build this little swimming pool and later made it so that people can't get in, because else the Sims will go in and they can't get out and they die, and yeah, I don't want that. Only die when I say so. And yeah, I'm not gonna put like little ladders for the pool, because it's not for swimming, it's just for show. And I wanted to make it all red, so it's like blood. I'm just putting a little foundation on the church so that I can build the steps and figure out which items I actually want to keep and which to throw out. This arch, it's a wedding arch, you can keep that. And of course the little bushes that come with the vampire pack, the rose bushes, I will have them everywhere. Just deleting stuff that I don't need. I wanted to have the wishing well so that if anyone dies that we could bring them back, but it didn't go with the rest of what I was doing, and I just didn't have the space because it's not a super big lot that I built this on. I could have used the big lot that is Vlad's houses on, but yeah, I don't want to mess with that. I wanted to keep it as is, although there are better ones on the gallery. I haven't built my own Vlad mansion yet. Maybe I will at some point, but it's a lot of work. So maybe at some later date. I'm putting his statue there and one of the fountains, the dry fountains, and doing the rest of the graveyard here. As you can see, pulling everything that I could think of out of debug. And that is, yeah, you have the little graves that are from debug as well. So that's where I got them from. And different headstones from different packs. And the little llama statue. Pray to the llama. I kind of found that funny to put that on the altar. I don't know if that's respectless or disrespectful or anything, but yeah, there it is. Trying to find a place for that, but yeah, will fit anywhere. Some vampire headstones. Sometimes I don't know where I want to put stuff. Yeah, I decided to throw everything out except the headstones here, because else I would have no space and it would be even messier and more chaotic than it already is. Maybe not. Some stones. Yeah, I think for the landscaping it's very hard to do that with only base game or only things that come with packs. There's so much more in debug for landscaping. It's just ridiculous. It makes it so much nicer. And like the little bushes or other details, yeah, that I decided not to do that. And deleting all those things. Like, okay, we're not gonna go with the runes team because that's, yeah. And everywhere the overgrowth. So I want to make it feel like a really overgrown cemetery and a bit run down. I don't know why lately I have the feeling to make everything look kind of like eerie and creepy. I did change that with the modern house that I built last Saturday. That I'm probably gonna put online next week because I have so many other videos to do. But yeah, I already put it on the gallery, so you can find it there. And it's something completely different. I want to do something on the 40 by 20 lot in Newcrest, and this came out pretty fine, and it's completely different than this. So if you want a modern house for your Sims, I have that too. I have everything, because sometimes I feel like doing every like dark, gloomy goth or dilapidated werewolf stuff, and other times I'm like, I want to do something happy with lots of colors. And yeah, that really depends on my mood, what I want to do. And I'm just doing all the details here for the landscaping, creeping thorns and anything I can find. Oh, I love this because that makes it feel like it's real. It's not real, but yeah, it feels sort of close to real, I guess. Overgrown, these weird things, grass, and yeah, I love doing this part, but I go into a trance and this part can be long. So I cut out a lot of this, even though it seems there is still a lot left. And it's very hard to get them close to the foundation because it will just go up. You have to put it slightly further from the foundation, else it won't. But I did find out that some of the debug items you can put closer to the wall. So I use those later. Yeah, as you can see, those grass things, those are not in the normal game. But I love putting these everywhere to make it feel... Didn't want to put very lively colors in there, a bit dark. Just doing the sort of shading first go because it's kind of a rough version. I'm gonna go over this later again. I'm doing usually multiple layers of the coloring because you can see that the area around it, they've done the same thing. They just like went over it a few times with different coloring, and I wanted it to match what was around there in the area. Of course you can put this lot down anywhere, but I wanted to fit the vampire world. I'm trying to make it similar in a way, and a little path there. You can have your wedding, and you might see a little time jump here. Sorry, I forgot to record part of it, so some parts you can't see now, and it's much more further along, but maybe it's also a little bit boring to watch all of it. I put some candles down, I put some more gravestones, and you can see that it's been raining. I have 2 Sims living there now, which made it easier to make some pictures later on and see if everything actually works, that they don't get stuck, because I hate builds that look great and then you try to play and then your Sims get stuck everywhere and you can't reach anything. And yeah, it's kind of useless to have that. So I want to make sure each time that you can actually play there. just doing a lot of shading, because it's like painting, really. There's no mailbox that appeared because this was still set as residential, which is not how it is now. I think it should be set as nightclub, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna go back and check. But yeah, it should be set as a nightclub or a wedding venue. You can do either, or change them in the traits. When you go into build, you can just change the traits and the type of lot you want it to be. And this should be one of those, else your Sims won't be able to go in. Well, you can always go to the graveyard, of course. And I'm gonna use it for some Sims that have expired. I put them down there and maybe just take away the gravestones that there are and just put them in instead of those. So I have a nice little place for them for the final resting place. Although most of my Sims I'm playing now, that is not the end. They still have a life beyond death. They often come back, or they still just are in the family and causing mischief. So yeah, death is not the end in my gameplay. So might not need this as much, and I usually keep the headstone in the family so that when the ghosts arrive you can easily add them to the family and keep playing with them. And some things I find in debug, like the thing that you just saw, is from the university pack. That was kind of interesting. And I'm just putting little details now on the graves. I don't know if everybody is happy with use of the move objects option, or cheat really, because that might slow some people's PC down considerably. But this is how I build, and not all of them are this bad. But this one I want to make really detailed. And this is of course a very sad grave for a child, because they can die as well in The Sims. I mean, not toddlers and not infants and not babies, but kids, yeah, they can die. Maybe through, I think they can die from poisoning with the pufferfish, or they can drown or something. All very tragic. But that's why I want to make a little grave there. And other tributes there. A moon petal on the werewolf grave. For anyone coming there, they can take the moon petal and then get cured. I don't know. Who wants to get cured if you're a werewolf? That's honestly one of my favorite packs right now. I started playing with that because I wanted a lot of chaos, and I got it. But it turns out to be actually one of the most interesting occult packs there is, and I really appreciate it more and more when I play with it. There's so much lore and hidden things, and the whole thing with Greg and Avelina. I love it. So yeah, I like werewolves now. I'll have them come to this place as well and make a mess as they do. So I just created this. I'm not this Saturday, but Saturday before that. I don't have a vampire family video yet. I have created them. They're on the gallery, and I will start playing with them sometime soon. But I don't want to do too many families and then it gets too complicated. So I have 2 families now. I have the Sinclairs, who have ghosts, well, not anymore, and and the werewolf family with Greg and Jezebel and Billy Bob and all the Tracy Shims together. I love them. And yeah, I think that's enough for now. But I will add more stories. It will become this whole, I don't know, days of our lives with Sims. Whole drama and complex relationships, and yeah, it will be fun to do. I was actually writing a book before all this happened, because I now have this, it's like a, no, is it a disease? I don't know. It's I've got fibromyalgia since a few years, and that's why I'm limited to playing games that you can just use with one hand and not two, like The Witcher or something. And I just got really good at doing this. So this enables me to take breaks and still do fun things. But yeah, I want to write a book, but that's would have to type, or yeah, it's too much. I'm changing the chairs here because everything was just too black down there. I'm just changing them to the actual vampire chairs. I thought that would be more fitting. I think the original chairs I used were base game, but I decided I wanted to have red chairs to give more a feeling. The lights are from the Dine Out pack, and yeah, you can see that I worked a little bit on downstairs as well, and changing the colors. And yeah, I did some of the background, the vampire fish or something. Oh yeah, here is, I'm adding the kitchen because yeah, sometimes they'll get hungry. I mean, the people that are there. So I want to have a kitchen, but in a way that it's not being used for a long time. So you can always take away some of the stuff I put in there that make it harder for you to use it. But I want to have it fully functional for anyone who wants to use this and doesn't have vampires and just wants to have a little kitchen so people don't get hungry. I mean, at the bar they can get food too, like fries or whatever. But if they want a pizza roll-up, they can have it. And putting a few minimal lights in here. I want to be a bit dark and like, oh, there's a kitchen here, but I'm not sure to use this. So yeah, that is... and the cabinets. Oh, don't get me started on the cabinets. Yeah, like we don't have enough kitchen cabinets as it is. But then you have the counters and even less cabinets. So you don't... The counters are from the realm of magic, but you don't have matching cabinets. So I'm using the ones from, I think, Country Kitchen. That to match that doesn't match exactly. And also the corner ones are blacker, like a more intense black than the rest. So I don't know. I'm trying to, and also the little modular parts. I mean, they act really weird. So, yeah, but still, it's not too bad. Didn't turn out too bad. I want to make it all black and white and a bit stylish, but also a bit gloomy. Maybe some stuff, some clutter items. I don't know if I should put the tea and the sort of meatloaf or a cake or whatever that is. I don't know, because it's not really used. Maybe coffee machine. Yeah, I put some old timey things there instead of the modern. I mean, there's a microwave, but I still want to be more in line with the rest and just put some random objects here so that it's kind of a storage, because I mean, vampires don't really use it. That is an urn. Oh, there's a fly here. It's just bothering me so much. So I don't know if you hear it sometimes. It's just buzzing around me and just trying to sit on my head. It's really annoying. Put some more spider webs. I like the fact that the spiders actually move around on the webs when you're in play mode, in live mode. So I've put all sorts of stuff here, and yeah, some gramophone player. You can see my Sims there. They're actually spellcasters. I moved them out again because this is not a place for them. They have their own place, which is nice. And I made a little platform here so that you can't actually go in and swim and drown. And yeah, I think that turned out nice. I tried to get more red lighting, but it's kind of annoying. And yeah, what can I do? Make this nicer. Oh yeah, you can see that it works, so I just tested that in live mode. That's why it's easy to have some Sims there while you're building, so you can test out if things actually work. And yeah, else you'll end up with something and then put it on the gallery, and yeah, and then turns out lots of things are not working and I have to redo it and re-upload. It's just a pain. And also the red lighting you can only do when there is live mode, because the Sims will have to, like, oh, he was dancing in the background. The Sims will have to turn on those lights, like the redness, the colors. You can see I'm changing colors there. And yeah, these are like the hidden bookcase from, it's not debug, but yeah, found that fun to make it a hidden space. Just doing the last little items here. And I think we're mostly done of this. I couldn't think of anything else to do with this build. I think I put everything in there. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. And it's been great hanging out with you, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you liked it, give it a like. And if you want to see more, please subscribe, which would be amazing. I'll be back next week with a new video of a modern house this time, as I mentioned. Thanks again for watching and have a lovely day. Bye bye.